I've given you a bit of a time lapse here because it's really fun to see this white polyurethane resin change. It changes in front of your eyes, but I did leave it for an hour to cure. Hey, welcome back to my channel. It's Wendy here from Toonpish Crafts and I hope you're doing okay. I'm still suffering with a cold, so please ignore the husky voice. This is the last video of 2025 season of Halloween, and I've really enjoyed making the video and I really hope you've enjoyed watching them. This video is inspired by Resin, a YouTuber that hasn't uploaded for quite some time, but his content is really worth watching, so check out Resin's channel. And I hope you really enjoy this video. Cheers. So in this video, I'm going to use some neon powders from Let's Resin and some glow in the dark powders from Let's Resin. I do love these colours this time of year. I think they work perfectly. I'm also going to use white polyurethane resin from Let's Resin for quickness. Now you may hear in my voice I'm still struggling to get over this cold that I've been having, so I'll try really hard not to sniff too much during this talk over. I'm going to use the bowl mould from Let's Resin. I've used this several times in the past and I absolutely love this mould. It takes 11 ounces of resin and it's stamped on the side so you know exactly how much you need to mix. After giving it a good clean, I'm going to completely cover it with green neon colour. Now I did get out the yellow as well because I was going to use that as well, but I decided just to use the green. I figured there wasn't enough contrast between the yellow and the green to make that much difference, so I decided just to stick with the green. I'm using my gloved hand to cover this neon powder right the way around this mould. I want it completely drenched in the green colour. I'm going to hopefully make this look like bacteria or a petri dish. Hopefully it's going to look absolutely disgusting. That is the plan. And this time of the year is a lot of fun to try and make things that are absolutely disgusting. I want it to look as if it's going to give you a nasty disease from any candy that might be in it. Is that cruel? I just think that's fun. I spend all year trying to make pieces that are the best to my ability, and it's really nice for a change to be able to make something that is deliberately horrible. It is so much fun. So after me giving this bowl a complete and utter drench in the green neon powder, this isn't acting the same way mica does. It's powder, it's not necessarily a mica. It doesn't cover the same as mica powder does. Well, the mica I've used anyway, but it's very neon, bright and amazingly tactile. It feels like the old-fashioned BB powder under your hand. I know I'm using a glove, but do you know what I mean? And you can wash these gloves out underwater with soap and they come out as good as new. Now I'm going to use the tape technique, which I did a few months ago now. Best off not wearing gloves when you do this technique, however. It really is not worth the hassle. And I'm going to scrunch up some tape and take off quite a good amount of this green. Now this does take quite a while, but I am doing it over and over and over in the same patches because I just want a fleck of green left. If you haven't seen the video, I'll link the video in the top right hand corner for you where I first tried this technique, and I really love the technique, gotta be honest. So after I've done this for a while, this is what I've got. It's a mottled green base with quite a lot of empty silicone mould area that I can put another colour on. And that's the plan. Now this is where I was going to use the yellow. I decided instead to go with a neon white. Now I haven't actually used this neon white before. In fact, I had to take the seal off of it to get into the tub. But I want this bowl to look like it's infected. So I figured the white would give it a look like it's a white bowl that's got green mould on it, or green algae or germs on it. Do you see my point? So the yellow at this point wouldn't have worked. The white needed to be there to give it a natural base. It is worth pointing out here that whatever hits the mould first is the colour that you'll see primarily when the item is demoulded. So even though I'm putting the white on the back, you'll still see the green when it's demoulded. And because these are neon colours, they should show up under a black light really well. All you need to do is have a little black light torch shining on these pieces and they will come to life. So once I've completely covered this in the white powder, I'm going around with my glove hand, making sure every bit of this mould does have a white and a green on it. And I have some really funky white hands. So I cleaned myself up and now it's time to turn the mould in the right way. Again, with a gloved hand, it won't take off the mica or the colour with the glove. It will leave it there. If you use a bare hand, you are likely to rub off some of the colour, so gloves do work better. Now, I've already previously measured out the 2 parts of polyurethane resin. This mould takes 11 ounces, so I have around 5.5 ounces in each tub. I want to colour this green and I want it to be glow-in-the-dark green. So I've added the glow-in-the-dark colour to 1/2 and given it a really good stir before mixing the 2 parts together. Because you only have 30 seconds to stir polyurethane, you need to get the colour in and mixed properly before you mix the 2 parts together. So I'm going to fill up this mould with 11 ounces and I've mixed just about enough, but then the mould says that it's 11 ounces and it really is spot on. Thanks, Les Resin. I've given you a bit of a time lapse here because it's really fun to see this white polyurethane resin change. It changes in front of your eyes, but I did leave it for an hour to cure. So this is an hour later and I can now take this warm, this still warm bowl out of the mould and see what we have. Be careful when you run your fingers around a mould like that. The resin can be extremely sharp and can cut you quite easily, so do be careful of that. I keep my fingers well away from the sharp bit, but it has got me in the past. I'm liking how this looks just from me taking it out of the mould. I do like this bowl mould. It's a good size. I will try and link every item that I use in this video in the description box below. And I now have a white and green bowl. Now, as it looks, you can't really see on here that it is really mottled. But when I shine a black light on it, charge it up and turn off the lights, that's when the magic will happen. It looks really disgusting, and that is a good thing. It looks like a petri dish. It looks like it's germ infested, and I think that is brilliant. I really love it. I am charging it here with a black light. You don't have to, as long as it's been in sunlight, it's going to be charged. But it really looks eerily, disgustingly horrible. And even when I charge the bottom, all of it just looks mottled and germ infested. And that was really what I wanted. But I'm not finished yet. There's one more thing I'm going to try. Now this is where it gets a little bit more technical. This is not going to be for everyone, but I wanted to show you how you can change UV resin with a degassing machine. I did plan to use the Let's Resin degassing machine. However, the bowl that I'm using is too big for the Let's Resin degassing machine. So I've rescued my old vacuum chamber from the garage, cleaned it off, and this is where I'm trying it out with a little pot. This little pot is full of neon pink UV resin. Now, as luck would have it, the vacuum chamber has a clear lid, so you can see through it. This is extremely thick glass with a rubber rim. It has its own separate pump, which is plugged in under my feet, and the pump pulls the air out of the chamber. That's how this vacuum chamber works. I will show you a little bit more when I go for the bowl, but at the moment I'm just trying out this little piece to make sure I can get it right. Now I put a piece of mirrored paper underneath the item I'm going to cure with the light, and because of that it's shining the light up in the camera and into my eyes. So if you do that, just be careful of your eyes, because you don't want UV light in your eyes at all. I have deliberately put loads of air in this UV resin so that when it sucks out the air, it will rise and I can cure it when it's risen. I'll explain a little bit more when I do the bowl, but I'm liking how this worked, and I think I can get that duplicated in the bowl itself. And although it's very deep, and I don't want it that deep in the bowl, it's solid enough for me to definitely count it as a success. So I'm going to move over to the larger project, my bowl. So with this, I'm using Craft Resin's UV resin. This is new to the UK, and they sent me some to try. Now, I don't actually react very well with this resin, so I do have my gloves on, I do have my mask on, and they will stay until this resin is completely cured. So with this one, I'm going to use magenta and fuchsia colours. I am actually running out of all these neon colours. I don't have much left of any of them, so I added some light blue to give it a bit more of a bright colour. Now, I don't actually know how much UV resin I'm going to need. I don't think this is anywhere near the amount, but I only want a thin layer on the bottom of the bowl. So I start with this, and I can always add in some afterwards. I wouldn't normally stir UV resin like this, but I am desperately trying to add as much air as I can. As you can see when pouring it out, there isn't much there at all. So I do actually go on a couple of times and add more into it. I don't want a huge amount in this bowl, but I do want it to cover the bottom. So using the colours that are already in the bowl, I just added some more clear and mixed it in. I have tried to put as many bubbles in this as possible. I've kind of whisked it up to get air in it. You don't usually do that, obviously. You usually try not to add bubbles, but on this occasion I wanted bubbles and as many as possible. Again, there's still not enough in there, so I do add a bit more clear. I add a little bit more to the bowl and get some more of that colour out and add that in as well. By this point, I'm kind of worried that the UV resin will degas itself, because it's degassing UV resin. That's what UV resin does. So I thought I'd better get on and put this bowl in the degassing machine. So I put the bowl into the container and the lid goes on the top. It doesn't clip in, it just sits on top. I then turn on the pump and it starts to suck the air out of the container. As the lid doesn't clip on, you have to make sure that the plastic seal around it is in the right place for the lid, so that the seal does seal when the air starts coming out of the chamber. However, you need to shut the valve to make sure it does, because if the valve's open, it won't do anything. So realising that, I shut the valve so it could start taking the air out of the container. Now you can see here, it is really quick. This is a lot quicker than the resin degassing machines that you can buy. However, it's a lot more expensive, huge, and takes up a lot of space. But it does work really quickly, and it's got a huge suction on it. You can see with the video that it's starting to draw the bubbles out. And I'm filming with my phone so that you can see the dial. At this point, I'm panicking that I need to concentrate actually on the bowl itself, so I put my phone down and I'm staring into the pot to make sure I don't over degas it and all the bubbles come out, because I need the bubbles to be there. When I'm happy, I stop the pump, turn off the valve so that the suction is still in the pot, but it's not sucking any more out. That should keep the UV resin as it is in that form, so that I can then put the UV torch on top and cure it in situ. I hope that makes sense. I'm trying really hard to explain it the best I can. Now, I didn't actually think the torch would be strong enough because the batteries aren't great in it, so I got another UV lamp, the Let's Resin Z type UV lamp, rechargeable one, and I put that on as well. And I walked away and left it sitting there for about 5 minutes. That was with the vacuum still intact in the chamber. So 5 minutes later, hopefully it's cured enough for me to release the pressure in the vacuum chamber, which releases really quickly, and hopefully the UV resin that I've cured will stay in the same place. I've got my fingers and my toes crossed for this. This is the first time I've done this. I saw this technique on Resin Ace's channel about 5 or 6 years ago, and I was fascinated. He made it into a beer glass with foam, and I thought that was just brilliant. So thanks Resin Ace for this technique, and I hope I've done it justice with this bowl. I did put a lamp over the top of it for 5 minutes, close proximity, to make sure it was completely cured, and I'm really happy with how this came out. Again, because it's pink and white, it looks disgusting, and that's the point. Actually, I would be interested to see if the modern version resin degassers could do this in a smaller vessel. Obviously, the bowl was too big. Maybe that's something I should try in the future. Now, I did think to myself I'd put a little skeleton hand in there, and I played around with it to see if it would work. I could have stuck it to the side, but I would have liked 2 skeleton hands, a left hand and a right hand. Unfortunately, when I ordered 2, I got 2 right hands. Why do they do that? Why can't they sell a pair that is actually a left and a right hand? Very irritating. Anyway, I decided against the skeleton hand, and I thought, well, I'll just adorn it with a few, yes, you guessed it, UV DTF stickers. This sheet of UV DTF stickers were sent to me by a friend who was having a clear out, and she decided that she didn't want them. And I thought they were absolutely amazing. I thought they were wonderful. But once I had a good look at them, I realised there was actually only 3 on here that were whole. The whole sheet was bits and pieces. There was only 3 on here. So I figured I would use the 2 that would fit. The large one was just too big for the bowl. And then maybe I could put a half one in the liquid, coming out of the liquid, if you see what I mean. I just want to say a quick hello and welcome to all my new subscribers, and if you haven't subscribed already, maybe you would consider doing so. It does not cost a thing. You don't have to be a YouTube member to subscribe to someone's channel. You can get notifications for when I upload. Sometimes I do upload on the odd Friday, but mostly I upload on Tuesdays. If you're enjoying the video, please put a thumbs up. That helps YouTube know that you're enjoying the content, and it will push the video out so more people get a chance to see it. You can leave a comment and I'll always try and get back to you. I am struggling these days with getting back to comments, but I do try really hard to answer questions. And don't forget to check out toonpish.com. There's plenty of things on there that could help your crafting, including inlays, moulds and Angelina film, also known as dichroic film. Now I got really annoyed with myself here because I slightly missed where the pumpkin needed to go, and it shouldn't have had a line. Considering I spent so much time trimming it up so that it would fit, I missed it. But I still think it looks cool, and I could have filled in that little gap with a little bit more resin. But this is what they look like under a black light. Absolutely creepy. I think this is great for a candy bowl. Putting candy in here and having a little black light on the porch area or by the door when the kids are doing their trick or treats, I think would work really, really well. And I really enjoyed making this. The Halloween season is a lot of fun for creating with resin because you can put all that disgustingness in it. And it doesn't have to be perfect because it's meant to be disgusting. I do enjoy making Halloween things. Anyway, I really hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope you have a wonderful Halloween. Come back and see me next week because you never know what I'm going to be up to. I never know what I'm going to be up to. Have a great week. Happy crafting and bye for now.